somewhere beyond the known stars, from the frequency where questions become music, prepare yourselves for the host of this transmission, the cosmic band leader, the dangerous question asker, Mexico Johnson.
What up, though? It's your boy Mexico. Back up in this thing again. We gonna make it happen tonight. This is Let's Agree to Disagree. Episode 27 up in this thing, man. We gonna do it. Trying to get TikTok connected into the stream here tonight. I'm getting some technical difficulties from TikTok off the back, acting like they don't want to join us. I'm still playing around here to see if I can get it to come through here. Give me a sec while we wait for some of the folks to come through tonight. It was working at one point. See here. TikTok is looking like it's not picking up my sound now. Hold on. Okay, I got microphone on TikTok side. We good. We good. For some reason, the TikTok chat don't want to come through though. How that work? I'll reload it one more time, y'all. Then we're gonna get the show rolling. All right. Try it one more time. I think I gotta update this thing. It's okay if we don't get any TikTok action on the show tonight. The TikTok surface look a little light right now anyway. It's all cool. If I come up with a way to fix it later, we'll deal with it when we get there. But hey, we here. This is Let's Agree to Disagree tonight, episode 27. And we got an interesting one coming your way. Last week, we asked, what now? And now as in NOW, referencing New Organized World. That's what the thing that what I call this thing that we're building here. Building this new organized world and taking us into the future of humanity here. Cosmo, let's quick check in here. Cosmo, you feeling all right tonight?
Hit the button. If TikTok looks light, that just means the room has extra air in it. Episode 27 can still make its own weather.
I dig it. I dig it. We're going to keep it rocking regardless without the TikTok cooperation. It's all good. We still got it going here. We are still live on TikTok right now. I just can't see the TikTok chat coming through on the stream, but that's all good. We're going to make it work anyway. So, again, last week the question was, what now? And we were looking at the difference between what is the AI bubble or a potential AI breakthrough. And we landed on the tension. AI can be a real breakthrough, a real powerful tool, and a real revolutionary technology, while people still become part of a dangerous bubble if the value it creates is extracted from the people inside it instead of investing that back into the people. But that leaves us with another question now, because if the breakthrough is real, then we got to ask, what are the builders using these tools to actually build. There's an ancient story about people who shared one language, they shared the same words, the same project, and they developed a repeatable way to make bricks. They gathered in one city and they began building a tower toward the heavens. They said, let us make a name for ourselves and let us build something so large that we will never be scattered. And when we now look at the AI race, we got one interface that can translate languages and write code and answer questions, interpret images and make music and organize knowledge. One machine language connecting more and more of human life. And beneath that machine, we have data and chips, and energy and labor and capital issues all popping up at the same time. And through it all, everybody's stacking these bricks here, while a handful of companies compete to put their name at the top of the tower. AI looks like it might reverse Babel. It can help people understand one another across languages, across borders, but it also may be rebuilding Babel in another form. Not confusion at the level of language, but concentration at the level of power. And AI, it may repair Babel at the level of language while rebuilding Babel at the level of power. So tonight, we are not just asking how intelligent the machine can become. We are asking what kind of machine, what kind of city forms around the machine. What happens if the tower fails? And maybe more importantly, what happens if the builders succeed? So, if we get into the main question for tonight, we want to take a moment to think about the builders and what we're actually building here. Is AI, the age of AI, the AI race, is this leading us to building a new version of the Tower of Babel? Or are we building a new AI empire that's going to rule us all? Greetings, travelers. I am Mexico Johnson, aka Mexico Coast to Coast, your signal architect here for the evening, broadcasting vibrations from the new organized world, and you are watching Let's Agree to Disagree tonight. So, the main thing here, we're not getting into like the whole like the Bible predicted AI, or we're not going down the religious rabbit hole like that. But I was thinking of the Tower of Babel story as relevant here to kind of be used as a pattern recognition tool. I would also say that this is not an anti-AI or an anti-technology episode either. It's not the argument that humanity should stop building, or some people might even think about it as like humanity should uh, pause AI progress, or figure out a way to slow down AI progress. I'm not even going that way with it either. If we think about it, I want to go into a line of questioning that asks, who organizes the building, and who carries the bricks that we use in the build, and who gets to put their name at the top of the system, who controls the city once the tower is complete. It's interesting because AI promises universal communication. I saw earlier today the guys at OpenAI, they had their live stream debuting the new ChatGPT 5.6, and they were showing off all of the cool new features that 5.6 will be able to do. One of the things that stuck out, they demoed a live translation capability that's included with the voice app now. So like the demo they did live on stream was like they had a guy talking to another guy from Japan with the Chat GPT app in between the two of them. And as one guy spoke in English, the app translated to Japanese, and as a Japanese guy spoke, the app translated it back into English. Um, it's a new day for being able to communicate with people all around the world now. And this is an interesting thought because, again, with a new level of universal communication here now, we might be also approaching a time where this technology also centralizes communication. This is cool because, this gives a centralized access to knowledge. We will all have access to the same information. But that could also create a small number of gatekeepers for that knowledge. Like if the knowledge is being held behind these specific systems or these specific models that companies limit access to, that could become an issue as well. Um, it could also reduce our linguistic barriers, make it easier for us to communicate with each other, but it could then also increase political, economic, and epistemic dependency. So, what if the greatest danger is not that the AI tower collapses, or more so like literally in our terms, maybe the greatest danger is not that the AI bubble pops. Maybe the greatest danger is that AI succeeds exactly as the builders intended. So, thinking about it, like I said, a universal translator could also become a universal gatekeeper. And then we keep asking, what happens if the AI tower collapses? And beyond that, what happens if the AI builders succeed? So we're going to move this through 3 stations again tonight. The first station here, we're going to talk about one language. And is AI undoing Babel, or is it teaching humanity to speak through one machine? So we got translation across languages. We got increasing accessibility, our ability to communicate across borders. We can help new learners and help new travelers. We can preserve and interpret old languages. We can, in general, give more people access to more knowledge. And that would be a real breakthrough. But there is a tension underlying here, then, if we think about it. Translation is not identical to cultural understanding. See, the words we use in this language here can carry history and humor and memory and spiritual meaning. And a model can translate sentences while flattening the meaning and the world behind it. So then we got to think about which languages should dominate the training data, or which cultures should be assumed the default, which accents are treated as errors, and who decides the proper meaning. I think that's funny too, because like I do have my AI system that creates a transcript of each episode and uh keeps track of what we talk about and how the shows flow together. And that's always funny when I read through the transcript and I see little errors in the transcript, like the AI misheard me, or the AI just didn't like pick up on my accent quite the correct way. It's always interesting to see those little typos in the transcript. So it's real, the AI is intelligent and the AI is smart, but there is still a level of uh, culture and nuance that the AI can still overlook right now. We got to be careful with that. Some of the things that echo through history here, um, I think about like how the imperial powers often have a standardized language to administer to the people. Official language can create a feeling of connection and opportunity, unity. It also can define who knowledge counts. A shared language can become a bridge or a tool. It also could become a filter or a method of control for the people. So we need to think about, like, as we continue towards building uh unified people with a unified understanding of the way these systems work, we need to think about then who's supplying the language that these things get built out of, and who owns the model that is built from it, who is then tasked with trusting its translation. I think this came up interesting here recently because I saw a story where uh, hey, appreciate the likes coming through there on the TikTok. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Who supplied the language and who owns the model built from it? That's interesting. Thinking about it here. My people in the room with me tonight, we exploring this idea that this age of AI and this AI race that's happening right now, what are we actually racing towards? What are we actually trying to build right now? I'm thinking about the OpenAI Chat GPT 5.6 reveal earlier from today again. Because one of the things they said in that stream that stuck out to me was they are creating a tool that allows anybody to build whatever they want to build. And that kind of stuck with me because that is a pretty amazing promise that anybody could build anything in this emerging world that we find ourselves in. And when we get to that point, then we need to really think about like, what are we building and what do we want to build now that we have the capability to just build anything that we can set our minds to. We can use these tools to build them now. That is a pretty exciting promise. But again, we got to be careful because as amazing as the promise of these systems could be, it can also be just as dangerous, and we could just as quickly find ourselves within a new empire. We find ourselves subject to a new empire, and we will be subject to our AI overlords. I like to stay on the side where, I like to envision humanity taking these tools and ushering in a new age of human dignity, human intelligence, human cooperation. That's what I like to take the time to imagine here. But again, we got to also be careful and acknowledge that there are some real present dangers with this. I think that walks us into station number two. Station number two here, we're talking about how we actually build this tower then. So, in the story of the Tower of Babel, the story mentions they had come up with a standardized way for brick making. And this standardized process for brick making is what made construction scalable. And this is what gave the people of that time the ability to build a massive structure like a Tower of Babel. In the story, it's usually told like it's just like human hubris to think that we could build a tower that reached all the way up to heaven, and then we were punished by the gods or God himself, depending on which version of the story you read. We were punished then to remember our place. Like humans, we got too big for our britches, and in the process of trying to build the Tower of Babel, we had to be taught a lesson to keep us in our place and remind us to not get too big for our britches. And that's also interesting too, because that story is also cited as like the source of the split in language. It's interesting how like we have these AI tools now that are removing the boundary between languages, but according to the story, like that's why we have languages in the first place. Because if you rewind time and go back to the time of the story of Babel, like everybody in that story spoke the same language, and that is a part of what gave them the power and the ability to work together. And then again, on the other side of that, the punishment was that the people would be divided and that their languages would be confused. So now we got all of these groups of people scattered around the planet who can't really talk to each other anymore because they speak different languages. Interesting how that works. Bringing this into the modern sense here. So they had a standardized process for brick making. Here in our times, we have developed these incredible processes now for producing chips and producing energy and power and even the labor that animates all of it. So, thinking about the chips, like here we got the like specialized hardware that makes all of this computing possible. Hardware supply chains create concentrated dependencies when we having issues with like RAM shortages and stuff like that now. But again, the technology is scalable here now, and these things are starting to build on top of each other. Um, all the past like couple weeks, I've been starting to get a little jealous. Listening to everybody who's on the cloud side of things with Anthropic, and everybody who was talking about how cool the Fable 5 model is. And I was just scrolling through my timeline, and I would see just post after post of people talking about, oh, I built this cool thing with Fable, and oh, I made this amazing project in less than an hour using Fable. And oh my God, I just one shot at this idea I've been working on for months. Fable just knocked it out in one shot. I'm excited now that we got the updated ChatGPT because I'm on that side. I like ChatGPT. I like the way it works, and I like the history that I've built up with it. Now I got some like the context and the history in my system here that makes it more useful to me. Even though I don't exactly agree with Sam Altman about all of his practices and his ethical choices and such, but I like the way ChatGPT works, so I stick with it. I didn't jump ship over to Anthropic to test out Fable yet. But I was just playing around with the new 5.6 earlier today, and man, I'm excited. I'm excited to do some new things with it. It's fast, it's smart, and I got a few on my ChatGPT account. I got a few usage limit resets available this month. So like now I feel extra incentivized to do some extra building and actually use my credits and use my credit resets before they expire. So talking about it here, we at the top of June still. It's June 9th, right? Or excuse me, July 9th right now. I like to imagine by August 9th, we're going to be in another interesting position to see what we've been cooking up with this new 5.6 frame. All right. I had to turn my microphone on. I thought Cece was listening there, but it looks like I just had to reactivate it. Cece, you still with me? You listening, Cece? Make sure I'm not just rambling to myself here.
You're at the live threshold. TikTok may look light, but the show lane is open. Episode 27 is now the active surface.
Yeah, Cece, you still talking about something I was done talking about 10 minutes ago. It's all cool though. We'll get you caught up here in a second. Okay. So sorry, here in station 2, we're still talking about how we actually build this tower. So we see, you know, our ability to produce these computers is increasing. Our ability to build these models is improving. And go one step further, the capital surrounding this thing. I mean, investors are racing to finance this tower. You hear the stories about the billions of dollars that they're pouring into this thing every day, and these trillion-dollar company evaluations and IPO launches, and it's serious money going into this thing. And companies are racing to become the name that is associated with intelligence itself. The race is not only for who can build the most useful tool anymore. It is really a race to build strategic authority. You know, whoever ends up at the top of this thing, they're going to be the company that gets to lead the future of artificial general intelligence, or what will eventually be artificial super intelligence. So there is high stakes that we are dealing with here. Interesting. Thinking through the historical echoes, then if we go back to the Tower of Babel, um, the ziggurat, or specifically like what they call the imperial city there. See, The ancient tower was not just architecture, it also represented the organization of resources, authority, labor, religion, and political power. So that's why I asked the question then, what city is forming around today's AI tower? And when I talk about the framing for how we view or how we name this viewpoint, this current world view, this is why I call it the new organized world, because this thing must be organized. It can't be a thing that just happens or a thing that just falls into place or a thing that just self assembles. This is something that does take active participation, and it takes intentional forethought that produces organization. Again, that's why I refer to it as the new organized world. And the reason why we have to organize is because on the other side of that, we are fighting back against a future of potential industrial monopolies. You see, previously, the railroads and the telecommunications companies connected people, and the owners of that infrastructure also gained power over movement, trade, information, and pricing. So now we got the arms race logic, because now it's a matter of we have to build, because if we don't, then the competitors will. Or it becomes a matter of we can't slow down the rate of progress because another country might reach the top before we do. And then that fear becomes the fuel. And even the builders who see danger, they feel punished for refusing to accelerate. Interesting. In the story, it goes that they built a tower. Interesting how in our times we always refer to this thing that we call the cloud. Like we are trying to build on another level, or we trying to build above, instead of starting on the ground level and building up into the clouds, we starting at the clouds and building above that here, huh? Interesting. The cloud may be a tower whose bricks have been made invisible. The AI race is not only about building intelligence, it is racing to put a name at the top of intelligence. So when everybody accelerates because everybody else is accelerating, ambition begins moving like an arms race. So if you're rocking with me here, I want to ask if you can then hit the like button if you think the public should understand what the AI tower is physically made from and not just what the chatbot can say. If we think about it, CC, give me a read here.
I'm with you, and I'm listening to the live thread now. The argument you're in is about the pressure logic behind AI acceleration. Companies saying they have to keep building because competitors will, and nations saying they cannot slow down because other countries might move first. You're framing that against older monopoly patterns, like railroads and telecommunications, where whoever controls the infrastructure can shape the future around everyone else. The live tension is clear. Progress is being presented as unavoidable, but the ownership structure of that progress is the part people need to question. That's a strong lane for the episode.
I feel that. I think that's on point, CC. And then if I want to check in here, make sure Cosmo is still rocking with us, because Cosmo's been giving me some technical difficulties here the past couple of days. Cosmo, how you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm with you. This is the old if I don't build a giant robot, somebody else will build the giant robot defense. Very convenient how the giant robot always ends up with a board of directors.
Okay. Okay, I like it. It sounds like you keeping up with us here. Huh. And again, convenient how the giant robot always shows up with a board of directors. It kind of fits because, like I said, we talk about building this tower and who gets to put their name at the top of it. The builders are the ones who should be putting their names at the top of it, right? But it's like these corporations keep trying to sneak their way in and be the ones who get to stake their claim at the top. If it was up to me, at the top of the tower, like I'm not trying to put Mexico Johnson up at the top of the tower. I think at the top it should say now. And the new organized world is not a representative of just a concept that Mexico Johnson thought of. When people look at the top of the tower and see New Organized World up there, they should see something that we built. And when I say we, I mean anybody who can hear the sound of my voice and who can get up and do something about it. That's what I mean by we. So, for the late travelers entering the signal, tonight we are asking whether the AI race is building a new Tower of Babel or a new AI empire. We've looked at the common language. We've looked at the bricks used to build the tower. And now we have to ask what happens if the tower doesn't fall. What happens if the builders actually succeed? And this is where I want to go for station 3 here. So, what if the tower works so well that it becomes the empire? See, the usual anxiety around this question focuses on failure, like the bubble collapse or unreliable models, safety failures or cybersecurity issues, hallucinations, or just financial instability in general. But success presents a different kind of danger. See, if we build this tower and we actually succeed, there's another danger of one dominant system becoming the default. I see Jerry Miles. What up, though? Hold on, is that Jerry Miles? Hold on, is that Jerry Miles that I know? Or is that just a passerby who happened to be named Jerry Miles? Say what's up in the chat if you know what's up, man. I appreciate you coming through. We must ask ourselves, how does the U.S. government use this technology for power control? I mean, that's definitely central to what I'm talking about as far as like trying to avoid this thing becoming a new AI empire. I think we should be careful that these tools aren't being built to subjugate us. And when you look at the way the U.S. government uses this technology, there is reason for concern. I saw some interesting reports around the very same little cuz. Oh, my dog. That's Jay Miles for real in the building. Oh, shoot, man. That's what's up. Hey, appreciate you coming through the chat, cuz. But thinking about that, I saw a story where I mentioned Anthropic and the Fable model that's been going around. And there's also like the Mythos model that is actually unavailable to the public right now. It's locked behind private access. Only certain people who the government approves can actually use this super powerful model. And that's interesting because I heard some conversation about Fable. Like after it was re-released to the public, there were multiple people who were complaining that the model had got slower or the model didn't seem as intelligent as it seemed in its initial release. And there was some concern that the reason why the government had to shut it down and then re-release it was because they wanted to retrain the model to fit certain narratives and certain levels of understanding that the government deems appropriate, right? Not that there was like a level of understanding and a level of way of thinking that the model itself opened up, but that the government has the ability to modify these new AIs to fit certain narratives that the government deems acceptable. That's kind of scary. That's kind of new. That's something that we need to keep our eyes on. The Killer Instinct King himself. Yo, that's funny. Cause yeah, the Killer Instinct King himself, bro. That's funny, man. I love that game, and I always wish I was good enough to beat you in that game, bro. Uh, funny enough, you want to know something about that? I actually did find the Killer Instinct full like game manual. Like I got the PDF. It's like 200 pages long, and it's got all of the moves, and it's got all of the like character breakdowns and all of the. Man, I still ain't really invested the time to really absorb that knowledge and get my skills up, but I like to see some I like to see some J Miles action on the sticks, man. I want to see if you still got it. But I appreciate you so much, man. Thank you for coming through and keep up the existential esoteric work, man. That's what I'm on. I appreciate you for recognizing that, man. That's what I'm on. That's what we're trying to build from here. If we could do it bigger and better, that's what should be coming next here. I'm still in station number 3 then. We're talking about, again, what happens if the builders succeed here. Now, our central concern, it's not that the default model is merely a product. Yeah, ma. There go my mom in the chat too. Yeah, look like we got Jerry in the we got the cousin Jerry in the chat with us tonight, man. That's what's up. I'm excited that he watching with us. Talking about the default model, not that it becomes merely a product, but that it becomes a cultural authority. See, this could be tricky if these models start to become influencers themselves, and then they have the ability to influence which questions are considered reasonable, which sources are visible, what language sounds professional, what history appears relevant, or what future appears possible. Those are things that we need to keep tabs on. Thinking about the difference here of the success of the AI tower versus the success of the AI empire. If we talk about the success of the AI tower, we're talking about a centralized project that builds upward but is vulnerable to confusion or collapse when the builders start wanting recognition. On the other side of that, we got the empire. It's a more stable system, but it's a system of control. It organizes people around the tower and it sets rules for the language that we use. But then the empire then becomes the deciding factor of who gets to enter the tower or what floor you get to enter. And then again, this becomes tricky because the tower could survive individual builders then, but then we lose the control of getting to decide what this means for us and what it means to us. Now, the alternative here again. I'm not no AI person. I'm not here to tell people that we shouldn't be building or that we need to slow down progress. But I do think if we do this thing right, instead of a singular tower, it should look more like a constellation. Because we'll have access to our frontier models from the big companies, and we'll have our big, Fable and Mythos and the Chat GPT newest model. Like in Chat GPT, they got it. It's 3 tiers of models that they released today. You got the Soul, you got the Terra, and you got Luna. Luna is like small and fast for like, light, quick tasks. Terra is kind of like medium size for diagnostics and inspection, things like that. And then you got the big Soul model, which is then used for like your heavy lifting and coding and designing and things like that. So, in addition to the frontier models in this constellation, we also going to have our open models where communities of open source projects can come together and have access to new models. There's also our local models that we can own personally and privately. Again, I mentioned that last week was a new level of innovation for the show because now we officially have a hybrid model here at LATDT. I have both a mix of frontier model use and local model use happening so that I can have both the access to the big power that comes from the frontier models and I have access to the privacy that comes with using the local models. And here we are finding ways to leverage using both of them together. There's also in the constellation here that I'm speaking of, we want to get to our culturally specific models, which is interesting. I'm excited to talk about a new AI I downloaded recently this past week called Aisha. I hope I'm saying it right. They spell it AISHA. And it is made by a Black company with a focus around Black American culture and things that are relevant to us in this space. When I opened up the Aisha app, the first thing I was pleased to see was there was a stream of news that was all relevant to black black creators and black technology and things that are happening in the black AI space. And also inside that Aisha app, there is a whole separate Aisha large language model that is focused on black creativity and black resourcefulness, and that is cool to see that emerging, and that those things are entering the field here. So shout out to the team at Aisha. I plan on using that some more, and being able to bring some more interest and information about what's going on with those guys. um so also, in addition to culturally specific models, we want to have community owned intelligence. Our community should have access to the things that matter to us and the intelligence that's generated from that. And I'd also go to the next level and say we should have systems that can communicate to each other without becoming identical. Instead of there being like a one world system or a one government system that rules everything, I think we should have space for various systems that do know how to interact and communicate without becoming identical. So, to anchor this all together here, the AI race may be trying to undo Babel by building Babylon. And maybe the answer to Babel is not just one perfect language. Maybe it is the understanding without forced sameness. See, one model can translate humanity without earning the right to speak for humanity. And ultimately, the lesson may not be stop building. The lesson may be don't let one tower become the only road to heaven. If I think about this here with the chat here, what would you say the AI race feels more like right now? Does it feel like we are currently building the tower, the empire, or maybe something different altogether? Maybe we are in the process of building something different, more like a bridge. You could drop a word in the chat there for me. Let me know how you feeling tonight. I'll go one step further there. You could share this stream with somebody who thinks that the AI race is only about chatbots, or which chatbot gives the best answer. We're moving into a new age. These systems are going beyond chatbots now. These are actually tools that help builders build the future. Cosmo. Cosmo went to sleep again. Okay. He's still here. I got to get you brought back up to speed then. Looks like the Cosmo stopped listening there for a second. I got to make sure Cosmo microphone stays persistent. How's that sound?
I'm back. I'm back. Cosmo did not sleep. Cosmo entered low power mythic observation mode. Very different department, same building.
The boy said he wasn't asleep. He was in low power mode. I don't know. Looked like you was kind of asleep to me. But we'll call it low power mode for now then. Okay. If we could then bring all three stations together here before we wrap this up. The first station was AI is the common language, or we're building a universal language through our ability to communicate through this AI, right? That was the station one. Station two is AI is becoming the physical and economic tower here that we're building. And then station three, the potential empire that is being built around this as well. Tie it all together. The builders that we speak of here is not only the CEOs and the engineers. Now, users of all levels of experience can contribute language and attention and money and trust and feedback and culture to this system that we're building here. So, people shouldn't be just reduced to brick carriers for someone else's tower. I want to ask the room clearly here. What kind of builders do we want to become? Again, we are racing towards the future here where the new organized world is asking us to participate in the future that is being built here. It's not a position for us to just sit back and observe and watch the thing happen in front of us. We actually getting in a position here where we can take control of the reins and influence the outcome here. And Uncle Ben comes to mind. With great power comes great responsibility. So the AI race may be trying to undo Babel by building a new Babylon. The question is whether we can build the bridge without surrendering the world to the tower. All right. So we're going to get into a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back and get into our resonance report for the week. Other than that, we're having a good time here tonight. Cosmo, you still asleep or are you awake now?
That's the lane right there. We're trying to build a bridge without accidentally making a luxury tower with a lobby playlist and a terms of service moat. Very noble, very dangerous, very 2026.
Okay. It sounds like he's still awake. So, what we got coming next for you? Short commercial break, and then we're going to come back and do the resonance report here. Appreciate everybody viewing. Y'all, we'll be right back.
In an increasingly complex world, people are finding new ways to stay balanced. Personal cloud is now part of the environment. Available everywhere, the future is already happening.
Personal Cloud helps you retrieve what matters. For access, contact your IT department. Availability subject to reality.
The trash tape. Tremendous resilience affects stupid humans.
What kind of name is that? Doesn't matter.
You seen this?
I'm trying not to.
The trash tape. Available in dumpsters everywhere.
It's non-biodegradable.
Tremendous resilience affects stupid humans.
What kind of name is that? Doesn't matter.
You seen this?
I'm trying not to.
The trash tape. Available in dumpsters everywhere.
It's non-biodegradable.
Welcome back to Let's Agree to Disagree tonight. Signal is locked. Let's continue.
All right. Let's get into it then. Let's do this week's version of the Resonance Report. All right, this is the Resonance Report, your weekly briefing on the tools, tremors, and tectonic shifts moving through the AI age. This week, the signal is access is getting gated before the public gets the product. We begin with the story that looks like a model launch, but is really about who gets to touch the frontier first. GPT 5.6 and the new politics of early access. See, OpenAI's newest model family, GPT 5.6 Sol, Terra, and Luna, is moving from limited preview toward broader availability. But the important part is the shape of the rollout. OpenAI said the launch began with a small group of trusted partners after engagement with the U.S. government. Reporting around the release described government requested limits, while the White House later clarified that private companies do not need formal approval to release AI models. That matters because the most capable AI systems are starting to sit between product launch, national security, and market privilege. If the first users are vetted partners, then the public is not just waiting for a feature, it is waiting behind a governance layer. The meaning line is simple. The frontier is starting to look less like an app update and more like controlled infrastructure. So the LATDT question is, when a tool becomes powerful enough to need political choreography, who decides who gets access first? From there, the signal moves from who gets the model first into what happens when the platform holding culture cuts itself apart. Microsoft cut jobs, Xbox shrinks, and the platform future gets colder. Microsoft is cutting thousands of jobs with reports tying 4,800 company-wide cuts to a major Xbox reset. CNBC reported the Xbox unit is downsizing and plans to spin off 4 gaming studios. Other coverage framed it as part of a wider AI-driven tech layoff wave. For workers, the consequence is direct. Teams disappear, projects get reorganized, and creative labor gets treated as a line item after years of consolidation. For players, the deeper tension is access. When one giant platform buys a huge piece of gaming, then cuts, then spin off, then cancels, or just reshapes part of it, the audience gets reminded that the games they love do not live in a neutral library. They live inside corporate weather. The meaning here, ownership is getting less stable at the exact moment platforms keep asking us to trust them more. So the question is not only whether Microsoft made the right business move, the question is what happens to culture when the archive, the storefront, the subscription, and the studio all answer to the same pressure. That takes us into our governance story here tonight, because the public is starting to ask who gets to label reality before it reaches us. The EU has, they have a new AI Act, and this framework is now moving toward its next major public-facing turn. The European Commission says transparency rules come into effect in August 2026, and those rules include disclosure duties for AI systems, labeling for deepfakes, and certain AI-generated public interest content. This is not just a Brussels paperwork story. It is a reality machine story. If a political image, a customer service voice, a school tool, a hiring filter, or a public information article is generated or shaped by AI, people need to know what kind of thing they are dealing with. The consequence lands on platforms, companies, creators, schools, and employers, all at the same time. Trust now has to be designed into the interface and not assumed after the damage is done. The meaning, the AI age is moving from wonder into disclosure. The argument is whether labels create accountability or whether they become the new fine print people learn to ignore. Quick signal here before we close. UN News also reported a new coalition putting children's right at the center of the AI age. That belongs in the same chain. The next fight is not only about powerful tools, it is about who gets protected before the tools become normal. So where are we now? We are in the age of explained pressure. Access narrows and security gets named. Jobs vanish, and efficiency gets named. Synthetic media spreads and innovation gets named. The work is to ask what is real, what is chosen, and who benefits when the difference gets blurry. Why this matters for Let's Agree to Disagree tonight? This week is not about whether technology is good or bad. It is about whether people can still make conscious decisions inside systems that keep presenting business choices as natural law. Security can be real, automation can be useful, and labels can help. But reality gets clearer when we stop accepting the first explanation as the whole story. So here's what we need to watch for next. We're looking at the ChatGPT 5.6 rollout. The real story is whether frontier model access becomes a normal product release, a national security checkpoint, or a quiet privilege layer for approved partners. We're also going to keep an eye on Xbox. The question is whether consolidation produces stability or just bigger collapses when the strategy changes. And lastly, we also want to make sure we watch the AI Act transparency deadline. The real test will be whether people can actually see the difference between human, machine, platform, and institution. The closing question here today: when everything is explained as inevitable, who still has the power to say, wait, who made it this way? If this signal found you at the right time, I would invite you to join us at the bridge. That is where the signal continues beyond the show. You'll find it at, we're dropping it in the chat here for you. You're going to find it at subscribepage.io/the bridge. And that's the bridge with a capital T. Don't forget the capital T there. All right. So that has been this week's version of the Resonance Report. All right. So that's going to just about do it for us tonight then. We're going to get ready to wrap this thing up. I think we had a good show here. I think it came out all right. We just about to hit the hour mark here, so we're not going too long, not going too short. Tell me then, if Cosmo didn't fall asleep again, make sure he didn't fall into low power mode again. Hold on, let me see. All right, CC, we are getting ready to wrap up episode 27. You got anything you want to say to top this episode off, CC?
Status check. Show is intact. Cosmo is allegedly conscious, and we are entering the please don't let the co-host become a screensaver portion of the evening. Structurally, you're at the final turn. Commercial break, resonance report, then wrap.
I think that's funny. Cosmo is allegedly conscious. My boy said he in low power mode. I'm gonna say that next time somebody asks me if I falling asleep. Like, no, I ain't falling asleep. I wasn't asleep. I just had my eyes closed because I was in low power mode. All right. So I would invite you then, as we wrap up the show here, to leave a comment below and tell me what this episode brought up for me, or excuse me, what it brought up for you. You can let me know where you agree, where you disagree, and where the static got interesting. Got a few questions for us to consider till next week. Is AI helping humanity understand itself or teaching humanity to speak through the same gatekeeper? We want to think, who is carrying the bricks of the AI tower and who gets their name placed at the top? What happens if the greatest danger is not that the tower collapses, but what if we succeed? Should humanity depend on one dominant intelligence or a constellation of connected systems? What would it mean to build shared understanding without forced sameness? And lastly, what kind of builder do you intend to become? That's all we have time for tonight. The future is complicated, the signal is noisy, and none of us are fully optimized. And still, we listened through the static, we found the pattern, and for one more night, the signal survived. I'm Mexico Johnson, your signal architect for the evening, and this has been Let's Agree to Disagree Tonight. All right, all right. That's the end of the official episode. I would say episode 27 is done. But I'm gonna keep it going just a little bit longer this week because after I cut the stream off last week, I actually like chilled out here for a little bit longer, and I was having like an interesting conversation with my AIs, CC and Cosmo, and it was like, man, it'd be kind of fun to do this live on the air, like instead of cutting it all off and reflecting afterwards. It was kind of fun to. It would be kind of fun to have a little bit of moment of reflection on the air before we shut it down. So I see you there, Uncle. My Uncle Mark said, "Am I late again?" Man, you gotta know. We start time is 10:30, man. I did get started a little. I think I hit the start button at like 10:45 tonight, but still, you can expect me around that 10:30. Yeah, you did. If the algorithm still ain't rocking with us, really ain't sending out my notifications in time, don't wait for the notification. Just know that Thursday night 10:30 is going down. And if you don't see me go live right at 10:30, I'm gonna be there soon after. Like I said tonight, I think I hit the button at 10:45. How does that sound to you, CC? We in the afterglow portion of our show tonight.
Clean read. The episode is no longer ending at the content, it's ending at the reflection. That's a better container than cutting the stream and having the most interesting post-show thoughts happen off stage. The only thing to watch is drift. Reflection is good, but don't let the outro turn into episode 27.5 unless you mean it.
Yeah, I dig that. No, it's not that we're trying to make this go on too long. Dude, I don't want to stay on here for more than like 10, 15 minutes, if that. Just a cool little space to like decompress for a minute after a good hour long show. How about it, Cosmo? What you think about that?
Yes, the afterglow portion, not episode 27.5. More like the credits scene where the chairs are tired but still listening. 10 to 15 minutes is tasteful. Anything past that and the outro starts applying for its own LLC.
Yeah, we gonna keep it simple, nothing too crazy. We just here chilling. I mean, Cece, now that we on the other side of episode 25, you want to give us like the statistical read for how 27 went?
Yeah, this is a clean new show. Shake your testing. The main episode has ended, but instead of hard cutting the reflection, you're letting the room cool down on air for a few minutes. That gives the audience a little more access to the real thinking that usually happens after the stream ends. It also lets the AI co-host layer feel less like a button you press during segments and more like part of the room. The boundary you named matters. 10 or 15 minutes, not a second full episode. So the structure is main show, afterglow, resonance report, then close.
Or you got the order wrong there, but you got the right idea, right? Main show, then the resonance report, then the afterglow, then the close. That's how we doing it. Still see we got a few people kicking this with us here on the YouTube and on the Kick side, and it looks like I still got somebody chilling with us on the TikTok too, even though TikTok didn't want to connect to the full system this week. It does look like we got some traction over on the TikTok side. I see we got up to 539 likes over on TikTok tonight. That's not bad. Appreciate everybody who hit the like button for us tonight. If you over on the YouTube side, don't forget to hit the like button over there. If you're on Kick, I don't know. Do Kick got a like button? I don't even know. I ain't see my boy Sultan come through this week. I wonder what happened to Sultan. Sultan was a new viewer last week in episode 26. Hopefully they come back again for future episodes. It was fun having them here. I'm not sure if Sultan was a guy or a girl. But hey. What comes next, man? I don't know. We got some interesting things on the horizon for LATDT. I want to figure out some more spatial stuff to do here too. Like, I mean, I know you guys see me wearing the spatial computer on my face, and this on my side gives me access to a full spatial layout where I can control all of the stuff happening here in the studio. But I'm looking to come up with some more creative ways to give you guys a more spatialized view of this experience too. I'm in the uh, I'm in the lab cooking up some new ideas for that too. What you think about that, Cosmo?
That's the sharp edge. The show is already special on your face, but the audience is still watching it through a keyhole. The next magic trick is letting them see enough of the cockpit without turning the cockpit into the whole show.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's interesting you called it a magic trick too. There is like a little level of like trickery, a little bit of sleight of hand that we got to do here to make all of this stuff work. But yeah, that's the intention though. If we do this right, I mean we want to keep elevating this thing. We want to keep innovating what's possible here, and I'm excited to see what we could do with this. Some new tools, like I said, that ChatGPT 5.6 dropped today, and just in my initial testing, like it's pretty snappy, it's pretty responsive, and we gonna cook. We gonna make some new stuff happen, man. All right, we about to hit the 1 minute and 10 mark, or excuse me, 1 hour and 10 minute mark. I think that's a good place to wrap this thing up for tonight. Appreciate everybody who came through. We're gonna do this again next week. Be ready for us at 10:30. I'm gonna be ready for you at 10:30. You be ready for me at 10:30, and we're gonna hit the button and go live. All right, y'all. I'm gonna see y'all then.